Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel GMB SHOW. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. The Chase star Anne Hegerty says she was left resentful when show bosses hired a writer in a bid to stop her making inappropriate comments, but she quickly came around. The Chase's terrifying quizzer Anne Hegerty has admitted she was left resentful when bosses of the TV show introduced a writer to stop her making spontaneous, inappropriate comments. Anne has been a staple of the ITV game show since the second series, but her colorful language led ITV chiefs to draft in a professional writer to stop her saying anything inappropriate. While she resented this at first, she quickly came around. The 66-year-old told the Tell Us About Yourself podcast, "Around about Series 4, the producers decided they wanted a bit more certainty about what we were going to say when we went out there. They know I have a tendency to swear. I understand about not swearing on daytime TV, but they were afraid I might say something inappropriate. They actually brought in a writer. I remember being terribly resentful about this, thinking, why do we need a writer? And actually, I love him. He's brilliant." Article continues below. "I have to say most of my lines when I first come out. I sit down and I say, 'Hello, contestant.' Then I deliver a line, and that's almost certainly been written for me by Adam." Anne says that feedback from fans of the show is that she sounds spontaneous despite some of her lines being scripted. The quizzer, who goes by the moniker The Governess on The Chase, lifted the lid on how she came about molding her persona and how she switched it after some advice from a friend. She said, "The governess was originally going to be different. I had in mind that she should be less assertive and more creepy like Dolores Umbridge, the Harry Potter character. It was Daphne, quiz legend Daphne Fowler, who was going to be one of the people I was thinking of basing her on. She was going to be terribly sweet and nice, and then she'd turn out to be a killer. A friend of mine said, 'You won't be able to keep that up.' So I switched from Umbridge." It came after Anne made a huge reveal about her future on TV. The quizzer admitted she has no interest in doing any more reality TV shows. She jetted out to the Australian jungle for I'm a Celeb in 2018, but isn't keen on repeating the experience. She reckons nothing will be able to top her experience on the show. Anne said, "The jungle is about as big as you can get. Everything else is a bit of a step down. I don't want to do another reality show unless it involves something I want to get better at. I think I'm done." Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Today, we step into a story that is as much about dignity as it is about entertainment, and it centers on one of Britain's most beloved quiz queens, Anne Hegerty. Known to millions as the Governess on ITV's The Chase, Anne has always balanced wit, intelligence, and an unmistakable steeliness that has made her both feared and admired in equal measure. But behind the sharp mind and the stern exterior lies a woman who, perhaps surprisingly, was once left resentful by a decision made by the very bosses who gave her that iconic role. Now, let's set the stage. Imagine the early days of The Chase, a show still establishing itself as a family favorite. Viewers were drawn in not only by the quiz battles, but also by the personalities of the chasers themselves. Anne, in particular, stood out. She had a presence that demanded respect, and many fans were eager to comment on her appearance, her character, even her personal life. Some of those remarks were affectionate, but others strayed into territory that ITV bosses found, let's say, inappropriate. And here's where the conflict begins. ITV, keen to protect its talent and its brand, decided to intervene. They took measures to limit and moderate the kind of audience feedback and comments that were broadcast or shared around Anne. On the surface, this might sound like a considerate move, protecting one of their stars from unwanted or unkind attention. But for Anne, it didn't land that way. She later admitted to feeling resentful. Why? Because Anne Hegerty is not a woman who shies away from a challenge. She has always been upfront about who she is, whether it's her autism diagnosis, her struggles, or her triumphs. For her, those inappropriate comments were something she could handle head-on. Having that control taken away, having others decide what she could or couldn't face, felt like an infringement on her independence. And this is where the story takes a deeper turn. Think about it. Anne has built her entire career on confronting challenges in the spotlight. Whether it's demolishing contestants with rapid-fire answers or holding her own in the sometimes brutal world of public opinion, she has never asked for special treatment. So, when the show's bosses thought they were shielding her, what she felt instead was frustration, resentment even, that they didn't recognize her strength. But here's the twist that makes this story so inspiring. Instead of letting that resentment define her, Anne transformed it into a moment of reflection. She has since spoken openly about the experience, highlighting how important it is for people, not just TV stars, but all of us, to own our narratives, to decide for ourselves how much we let other people's words shape us. For viewers of The Chase, and especially for those who admire Anne, it's a reminder of something powerful. Resilience is not avoiding negativity, it's about facing it and rising above it. And so, the next time you see Anne Hegerty step out onto that famous set, take a moment to appreciate not just the quizmaster's brilliance, but the woman behind the governess persona, the woman who insists on meeting life head-on, on her own terms.